Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan and this is the brand new WildAx Europa. Now, if you're familiar with the WildAx brand, you might think, well, Europa, that's a name that's been around for a decade or so. But this one is the new Europa. So the big thing that's new about it is a change of base vehicle. The old Europa was a bit of an odd man out in the WildAx range and increasingly in the whole motorhome world because it was based on the Renault Master. The new Europa is based on the Citroën Relay to fit in with the rest of the WildAx range, or the centre part of the WildAx range between the little Ford Transit Custom pop tops and the big Mercedes Elara at the top. In the middle there's a selection of Citroën based high tops in various lengths, including now the Europa. Except that this one isn't a Citroën, it's a Fiat. Why is it a Fiat? Because Citroën doesn't offer an automatic gearbox on the Relay. So if you want an automatic Europa, it's not a Citroën, it's a Fiat. Price difference is £4,000. Everything else is pretty much the same. The spec on the base vehicle is the same, whether you have the Citroën or the Fiat, but you do get that lovely 9-speed automatic gearbox. Now, whether you have your Europa based on a Fiat or a Citroën, from this angle it looks pretty much the same. Really, the only styling difference is on the front grille. And of course, the vans come down the same production line in Italy. And whichever you choose, it's the 6.36 metre extra long van that is the basis of the Europa. You get these flush fit windows which look very neat, much better than the caravan style windows that sit proud of the bodywork. And the spec you see here is pretty much standard. Prices start at $54,995. That's for the manual gearbox Citroën version, of course. And for that price you get pretty much everything that you see here. Everything, in fact, apart from the solar panel that you can't see anyway because it's on the roof. Spec includes the metallic paint, the alloy wheels, the 140 bhp engine, not the 120 bhp unit, but you can't get that in automatic form anyway. Then you get inside the cab, of course, you get passenger airbag, cruise control, leather steering wheel, sat-nav, reversing camera and rear parking sensors. So if you reverse this into something, then, well, maybe you shouldn't be driving. So it's a pretty comprehensive spec. In fact, the only thing I could spot that you don't get on the Europa is those chromed ringed instruments. And well, I don't think anybody's going to worry too much about that. Inside, the Europa is still very much a classic British two-berth with a big rear lounge, making the most of that extra long van. Big sliding door gives you access, electric step of course, and that automatically retracts when you start the engine. Getting on board is nice and easy. There's a fly screen on the door and all your habitation controls are just inside. Now, there are plenty of manufacturers in the UK offering rear lounge two-berth conversions of the Fiat, Peugeot and Citroën vans, which all come out of the Seville factory. However, a lot of them retain access through the back doors, so you get two entirely separate settees, one down each side. WildAx has gone down the different route, not uniquely, there are other manufacturers that do this, and offering a U-shape rear seating area, which perhaps is more convivial. It's certainly a little bit more caravan-like or coach-built motorhome-like. Still got the back doors with their separate windows, both of those open. You've got nice reading lights in the back corners, these LED strips top and under the cupboards as well, and it is a nice spacious area. Plenty of room to put your feet up and relax, even though the wardrobe does overhang the settee on this side, but that doesn't interfere too much, especially when there's only two of you. You could get 5 people easily in this lounge area for a convivial evening. These scatter cushions give comfort too for when you've just want to put your feet up and relax. However, when you're sitting more formally, more upright, the seats are just a tad high. I'm just about okay. I'm 5'10" and I can just about get my feet flat on the floor, but my wife couldn't. And the seats are also very firm. That's a matter of taste, of course. When it's time to turn your lounge into a dining room, well, you've got two tables. The legs for both are stored in the back of the wardrobe, so that might not be too convenient if you've packed your entire wardrobe from home for that long summer tour. The legs are an unusual type. They don't have a deep hole in the floor, just a very small recess, and they use this screw down sheath to give them a bit more security, a bit less wobble. Two tables, as I think I mentioned, and they store next to the fridge in these slim lockers, one above the other, so one table in each. If it's just G&Ts or maybe a coffee, then the little table is absolutely fine. You wouldn't want any more than that. And when it comes to full dining, you just add the second table. Same system. Add the second table, and now you've got plenty of room for two people to dine. Quite a narrow surface, but if you sit slightly opposing, slightly diagonal from each other, that's not a problem. It's only a two-berth van after all. However, if you're sitting over here, it'll be your partner that has to get you another beer from the fridge, because now the wardrobe rather prevents you from getting out. So the tables take up quite a lot of storage, and I actually found that you could probably get both tabletops and both legs into one of those table cupboards, and then perhaps the other one could be turned into a nice slide out pantry unit for tinned foods or bottles or whatever. However, there is good storage under these settees because the water tanks are actually underneath. They're insulated and they have got 12-volt frost protection too. Both of them are 100 litres in capacity, fresh and waste. Now, storage under the settees, you just lift up the seats, but there's no struts or supports to hold the bases up. Plenty of room for your bedding in these two big lockers on this side, but as I say, you have to hold them up while you're trying to retrieve whatever's in there. And they're solid bases, they're not vented in any way, not the slatted bed bases that perhaps you'd expect. At night, pull the blinds and it very quickly becomes a cosy bedroom. If you want to use single beds, just remove these backrests. These can easily just stay on the floor. The top sections are fixed to the wall, so you can't move those. And then you need to remove the rest of the cushions. So what you end up with is a single bed on this side that's 1.93 metres long, and on that side 1.87. Even anybody sleeping in the largest of clown shoes would not find the wardrobe overhanging the foot of the bed inconvenient, although it does dictate that you sleep this way round. Equally, these aren't too much of an issue because you're sleeping lengthways. Others that have this type of system where you're sleeping across the van, it's much more of a problem. And of course, you can make a double bed as well. Now, to do that, we'll put these cushions back because we're going to need those this time. And here you have a couple of slide out panels. Now, unfortunately, they don't slide out straight onto these rails that support them, but they slide out and you then have to position them onto the rails. And then the bed is just completed with. So And now you have a really, really generous double bed. 1.93 metres long on this side, slightly shorter of course that side, but 1.85 metres wide. So you really will need to invest in some super king size bedding to fill this area. Easy access still to the bed, just slide off the end through the centre of the van there. Unfortunately there's no rear speakers, so you'll either have to turn the radio up quite loud or perhaps carry a little portable radio, or maybe just some sort of small music system to carry in the back. TV bracket can go on the wall there. There's no bracket as such, but the aerial and 12-volt sockets are there on the side of the wardrobe. Nice pleated blinds, but if you want a bit of daylight in the morning, they go up that way, whereas normally you'd have them pulling down the other way so you get a little bit of daylight at the top without losing all your privacy. Reading lights still nicely positioned for sitting up in bed, and of course there's loads of headroom to sit up in bed, sit against these back doors. So a really nice big bed. Storage I mentioned earlier, plenty of room for your bedding under this side. Under that side there's still plenty of storage, although you have got your leisure battery and the electrics under that side. The boiler is in this corner, and you've got some storage under here as well. That is a little bit more tricky to get to because you really need to remove this cushion, but you can get into there. And the centre section here, that's accessed from outside, which I'll show you later. Of course, in a layout like this, you'll spend most of your time at the back end of the vehicle. But if your partner's fast asleep and you want to get up and read the paper, why not come and sit at the front here? There's somewhere for your coffee. If you deploy the kitchen worktop extension, or if you sit on the other side, even better, there's a little corner cupboard there with a main socket and 2 USBs. These seats are nice and comfortable, and of course you can even spin round and put your feet up. There's no table as such, but as I say, you don't really need it. You've also got no option as yet to have a sunroof rather than this over cab shelf that is pretty much standard Fiat Ducato fare and has been for years. WildAx has introduced a sunroof option. Thanks to its parent company, the French Rapido Group, it can now offer an over cab sunroof on some models, but it's not yet compatible with this layout. Let's hope that comes as an option in the future. What you do get standard, and it's nice to see, is these LED reading lights in the cab. So often cab reading lights get forgotten. The kitchen is actually one of the star features of this vehicle, with this worktop extension at the forward end, decent area of worktop between the sink and the cooker. You've got plenty of preparation space. But also you've got plenty of kitchen equipment in line with the 60 grand price tag of this automatic Europa. In fact, you've got everything that you'd expect in a larger motorhome. 3 gas rings, combined oven and grill. You've got a microwave over on this side, and then a very generous 141 litre fridge freezer, and that's automatic energy selection as well. Not only that, but it has a very useful bottle drawer at the bottom. Keep all your wine and your bottles of pop nice and chilled in there. Storage is excellent as well. You've got 3 very large kitchen drawers, 1, 2, 3, and then this pull-out pantry unit for cereal packets, tinned food, all that sort of thing. So storage is excellent. There's even a little area for your spices and condiments and so on up there. All the top lockers are these timber type, so don't stuff them too full so that you can't easily get the doors open, but shouldn't really be an issue. One thing I wasn't so keen on was the position of these main sockets up here, where the leads are going to have to be quite long, reach over to this worktop space, but also they're behind the cooker. Doesn't seem quite the right place for them. Surely they should be here. And then when you come to the sink, you've got not only a chopping board, but a removable draining board and a plastic bowl if you want to carry stuff over to the campsite facilities. All in all then, this is a really good kitchen. I'm really quite impressed with this washroom too. You've got GRP mouldings all around, so it should be nice and easy to keep clean and you shouldn't have any maintenance issues. There isn't one of those horrible old-fashioned tip-up plastic basins that always feels as if they're going to come off in your hand either. You've got this nice fixed corner basin, an opening window too, as well as a roof vent. Things like towel rings, robe hooks, toothbrush mug, all the fittings are here that you'd want. You've even got a separate shower head to the basin's tap. The loo is the bench cassette type, which is easier to keep clean, and really the whole thing seems to work rather well. Perhaps my only very slight criticism is that when you lift up the mat, there is just one drain hole in the floor. Earlier on I was talking about storage under the rear lounge, and the final thing to show you is this. There's just this central area. Well, you get mains lead, levelling wedges, hose, welly boots, that sort of thing in there, but it's not big enough to get any outdoor chairs in, so you'll probably have to carry those thin stick type chairs and put them on the over cab shelf. Pity there isn't better external access to all this space under the back of the settee. So the Fiat or Citroën based WildAx Europa, it goes into a very popular part of the UK motorhome market where these rear lounge two berths tend to do really well. And you can see the appeal of this big lounge area, but in actual fact it's the kitchen and washroom that actually will perhaps push you towards the Europa rather than one of its opponents. I'd like this one to have softer seats, and I found the bed rather hard at night. I'd certainly need a mattress topper personally. I'd also like a bigger roof light in this rear lounge and some rethinking of the storage underneath the settees. Easier access to it, vented or slatted seat bases, and certainly better access from outside to the large area under the back of the sofa. But one of the most interesting features on this Europa is actually one that isn't present on this particular vehicle, because WildAx has just launched its Volt Pack. Now, it's an expensive option at $49955 grand effectively, but that replaces the standard 4 kilowatt gas and electric heater with a 6 kilowatt diesel one. And it also gives you two 100 amp hour lithium batteries with a pair of 150 watt solar panels on the roof as well, and a 3 kilowatt inverter. That pack will give you real independence from campsite facilities, and that could be the deciding factor if you're going to take your Europa for a big tour of Europe, staying on airs and stellplatzes rather than campsites.